Hi friends, so today what we're going to be doing is learning how to make our ROYGBIV lines. So on here you can see that I've got the color wheel and I've got some materials that we're going to be using such as Sharpies, watercolors. We're going to use our paper and create some really cool color wheels with some contour lines. I can't wait to get started. All right, so today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making this really cool drip project. So we're going to start off with making our drips. We're going to do it in our color wheel order. We have been talking about and filling in our sheet about the color wheel so you understand how it works. The certain primary colors mixed to make the secondary colors. And that is why the rainbow is in the order that it's in and everything else. So we're going to be using a liquid watercolor. So it's already, watered down for you. It's not that dry that you would normally get in your Crayola watercolor trays. And this particular one is very concentrated, so you really don't need a lot. I added a tiny bit of water in because it just makes it less concentrated and spreads a little bit easier for what we want to do today. All right, so the first thing that I'm going to do is use what I call a watercolor brush, and you'll notice it's got longer, softer hair, and the reason this is because it absorbs a lot more water. And that's what we want it to do, is to be gentle with the paint as well as have a lot of water, because watercolor is water in the color, correct? So my palette is a little out of order. Ms. Holland got excited and started with the yellow first, but it should be, yours will be in ROYGBIV order. So this is the red, and then the orange is over here. And then I've got the green, blue, and purple, also known as violet. And I know they look really, really dark, but when you add the water and put it on your paper, you'll notice how bright it is. So with my paintbrush, I wanted to show you, you're going to dip it in nicely, and then you just want to gently wipe it on the side. We're not tapping because this paint is very strong, and I just don't want it all over us. Like even my fingers are going to have some of the paint left over from when I was opening the containers. All right, so I'm gently just touching my brush in, and it drank up all the red. It just drinks it like a sponge. I'm gonna place it on this spot here, okay? And all I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna grab a bunch of water, and I'm gonna drop the water on top of what I have. If you want it a little darker, grab that and just put it here. Fantastic. And now part of our project is this. I'm going to drip it everywhere. See where it goes. If I need to add a little bit more, I can. La la la. And I'm going to have it like this. If you happen to get a little bit on here like I did, you can just quickly wipe it off, and it comes off really nice. We want this to happen, is to have a nice spreaded out area. Another trick is I can add the water on here, and I can kind of direct where I want this to drip. And then I can take my paint and I can drop it a little bit more on here. And I can just spread it this way, okay? All right, so that's what I'm looking for. I got color number 1 done. Why don't you do your first color? Now that you've done that, my paintbrush, when you clean it, you want to push it down and just gently wipe it on the bottom, like kind of spread. See how it spreads out like that? That cleans it nicely. And then I can wipe it this way, and I'm going to start the same thing. Here, I'm going to go to orange, and I'm going to put some water down of where I want my orange to go. And then I'm going to go back to my tray that you and your partner next to you are sharing, and I'm going to just gently touch it and then touch to the water puddle. See how cool that is? All right, so I got this. It's got it nice and strong in here. I'm gonna grab a little bit more water, and then I'm gonna lift up my paper, and I'm just gonna spread it. See where it wants to go. You can even blow if you wanted to. So there's my Roy. If you want them to touch, you can also have them touch, which is pretty cool. Okay. All right, I'm gonna rinse my brush again. And same thing for the next one, I'm going to add water onto my paper. It might spread here and that's fine. And I'm going to gently touch the yellow now. And you'll see the yellow is not as strong, and that's okay. I mean, it is strong. And you can spread it however way you want, if you want to make your own, or just add the water really strong here. Okay. And I'm going to just dip it, let it drip off a little bit, which is cool. Okay. Our goal with this project is I don't want to have a ton filled in because we are going to make our black lines, so I need some space. And if you end up with too much, again, you can wipe off, the areas, but that's what I'm looking for. It shouldn't be soaking wet because you don't want to break through your paper. And we also want some space for our concentric lines. All right. Now we're going from the warm colors now into the cool colors. And it's just a little bit easier to do so that way because it keeps our water nice and clean. But because we are going in and we've had 3 colors that we've rinsed off, what I recommend is, because there's 4 of you at a group, why don't you change your water? So rinse it, put in a new amount of water, make sure all the brushes are nice and clean, and then fresh water back in, and we'll start our cool colors. All right, so let's move to our cool colors. You can do it any direction that you want. I'm just going to keep going. So I got Roy G goes here for green, right? I'm not tapping my brush. I'm going to add where I want my green to go. And I think I'm going to make my green closer down here is where I was thinking. I'm going to dip in the paint and I'm going to touch it and just watch it explode all over here. I'm going to grab a little bit more, pour it on here, and then I'm going to lift and I'm going to try my best to drip it. I don't want all the other colors, so you can just dip that one page. Don't worry if it gets on the table. We're going to clean that later. And there's that one, okay? If I want to help it along and make a little bit more marks, remember you don't want a lot of the paint. You just want to have some of it. Pick it up, tip that corner side, and it can drip the way that maybe you want it to, okay? Because I do want to see a very good red, orange, and yellow, and then here's my green. All right. Notice I want to use all the paint on my paper and not put paint into the cup. So this is a very slight green, and that's fine. Here I'm going to go to my blue. You might make what we call tertiary colors. Tertiary colors are colors that mix together. So if I mix my blue and green together, I'm going to get a blue-green, right? So you might see here would be a blue-green, which would be pretty. I'm going to just add some water here, spread it around a little bit. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to just tip this side, drip, drip, drip. Maybe I want it to spread that way and a little bit this way with the green. It's really up to you. Leave those spaces, okay? Last color is my purple. I'm going to place it here. I'm going to dip in my brush, touch it into the puddle, dip again. So you can notice it's just a very small amount, okay? And then I'm going to just nicely tip this corner here. Maybe I want some of that to go. Touch together, it's up to you. There we go. All right, so once this is done, obviously your name and teacher code is already on it. I want you to put it on the dry rack, and then you are going to grab markers, paper, and you're going to watch a video on how to make some contour lines to practice for this one. Also remember to return this when your table is done back up to the sink area and clean your cup and brush. For this part of our project today, we're going to be using a felt tip pen, and this particular pen, you don't want to push down very hard. It's meant to make these really nice, precise, beautiful lines called contour lines. Using the contour lines, what we're doing is we're going to draw these lines following the shape around each of our watermark areas. As you're doing this, you'll notice that I am trying to follow the same shape that the drips have, and then I go back in and I repeat it. If I get too close, I stop and then I add a shape within that shape. Here, I wanted to show you, like if I continued it, it does get a little thicker, but ideally you just want to stop where you're at and then continue on the new path. So here I have a whole brand new shape. I'll follow it and keep going around as I go and fill it in. Now you'll notice on some of the other parts of my piece, there are splatters and other various things. You can like use your line and then bump out around it, or you can start by doing circles around those different splatters. For me, I'm just taking my time and I'm doing areas that are smaller that I really want to get to. If there's a few spots they have some white spaces, I'm just adding in a tiny little shape of an outline. And as you can see here, fit it as best as you can. So when you're doing this part, I have some expectations I want you to try. You are not having, the lines touching as closely or overlapping. You're creating these contour lines. You should also be concentrating. So our volume, our voice level in class should probably be around a 1, where it's more like a whisper, because you really need to be able to focus as you're doing this part. Once you're done, I have a rubric for us to be able to fill out, and then we will get ready the next time to do our images for Artsonia. You may then clean up your space for whatever you have and use one of the coloring sheets that I have out as your early finisher activity.